The global war on terrorism relied heavily on intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, ISR. Synchronized ISR products are made from the collection, evaluation, analysis, integration, and interpretation of all available information which concerns areas of operation and which is immediately or potentially significant to planning. Dictionary 1957. In response to the September 11, 2001 attacks. The global war on terrorism began and continued in Afghanistan until August 31, 2021, a total of 20 years. During this time, the synchronization of ISR was assessed and proven. However, not all missions involving ISR have a 20-year duration, like the War on Terror in Afghanistan, which is a special circumstance as the longest war in the history of the United States of America. In contrast in duration, Operation Urgent Fury was a rushed operation beginning on the 25th of October, 1983, lacking ISR, but still successful ending on the 29th of October, 1983. Therefore, dependence on intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance synchronization is not necessary for a successful mission if there are rushed but attainable objectives, strong political motivation, strong media support, and supportive public opinion. This operation was a rush to expedite two main objectives: eliminate the presence of Russian-backed Cuban forces on the Caribbean island of Grenada, and the safe return of students back to the United States of America studying in Grenada. The first main objective was strategic. Similar to the missile crisis of the 1960s, the Russians could possibly place weapons aimed at the United States in the Caribbean, but instead of Cuba this time, it would be in Grenada. This would have increased our vulnerabilities to an increased capability of the Russians attacking with weapons placed in Grenada. If the students were held hostage and injured, or worse, killed, the leadership of the United States of America would most likely end their political careers. Speed was particularly important in Operation Urgent Fury, as there was only a 3-day buildup to the beginning of Operation Urgent Fury, as the possibility of U.S. citizens in Grenada being used as leverage increased. If that were to happen, the mission would be a failure, and the impact would be felt by the public swaying opinion negatively. Due to this expedited tempo, there was no ISR that could have reduced collateral damage and deaths to civilians and critical infrastructure. For example, there was a hospital where 11 civilians were killed mistaken for enemy headquarters. Timeline. According to Robert Longley, at least 24 civilians were killed in the fighting. Also, in an interview after the operations, the commanding officer of Operation Urgent Fury, Vice Admiral Joseph Metcalf III, said, "I'm sure somebody knew that the hospital was there. But what priority do you give it? I mean, I didn't give it any priority whatsoever. Now, if we have been there, for a week or so, we would have plotted all these things." Timeline. It was a failure of ISR that may have been avoided. If military presence in that area, or if planning was done for a few weeks, rather than 3 days. The civilian casualties may have been prevented in the bombing of the hospital during the operation. After the operation on the 6th of November L983, General Vesey summarized Urgent Fury in these words: "We planned the operation in a very short period of time, in about 48 hours. We planned it with insufficient intelligence for the type of operation we wanted to conduct." Cole page 65. Political motivation for the expedited timing of Operation Urgent Fury is evident. The forced speed to conduct Operation Urgent Fury and mistakes made during it can be blamed on political miscalculations, as politicians of all shades have caused military blunder by ignoring military advisors and using war to pursue their political ends. Timeline. This was a victory in the public eye dependent of the intersectionality of being politically motivated. Operation Urgent Fury took place 2 days after a vehicle-borne suicide improvised explosive device, VBID, detonated at a United States of America's Marine barracks in Beirut, Lebanon. The damage of this attack was over 200 Americans dead and dozens injured. Americans would not get a chance to grieve. In the book The Presidency and Promoted Crisis, Reagan, Grenada, and Issue Management Bosdorf states the President of the United States. Ronald Reagan invaded Grenada for a victory to be projected by the media over any attention of the attack in Beirut. Bosdorf also quoted President Reagan's, "The United States came to the rescue of democracy and of hundreds of American students in Grenada. Also, in the context of national security strategy, Grenada was a victory compared to America's military failures in Vietnam and the Iranian hostage rescue attempt of 1980 reigns. The news media showed the victory of Operation Urgent Fury, projecting military dominance to the world and raised public opinion of leadership. There was video of the students landing back to their home of the United States of America. One video captured a student kissing the ground when he got out of the plane. Vice Admiral Joseph Metcalf III, the commander of Operation Urgent Fury, said, "That's the singular most significant political act in the Grenada operation. It took care of all our problems. It took care of the wounded people in the hospital. Friendly fire. I mean, it became a non-problem. Grenada was a political act. It was not a military operation. It was a political one." Timeline. From information in an after-action review, Lieutenant Colonel Andrew M. Perkins Jr. said, "Observations derived from the Grenada experience are terrain analysis, and topographic products are continuous requirements for engineers. State-of-the-art capabilities are necessary. Support to divisional engineers must be immediately available and responsive." Perkins. A lesson that ISR tactics and techniques needed to be faster and perhaps gathered as backup in case of responsive for unexpected events. This meant our forces had to have more accurate and extensive ISR to be effective and adaptable for future operations following Urgent Fury. However, in Operation Urgent Fury there was less than perfect circumstances, but attempts were made for new collection of ISR, but deadlines objectives had to be met. The military success, despite preferable ISR standards, could be attributed to the friendly-to-enemy ratios. General Vesey said, "We probably used more force than we needed to do the job, but the operation went reasonably well. Things did go wrong, but generally the operation was a success. The troops did very well." Cole page 65. There were attempts to collect, but failed ISR attempt by SEALs. Despite the Army paratroopers lacking adequate tactical intelligence, but countered by cautiously clearing all enemies in their zones, phase line by phase line, leaving no pockets of resistance. Cole page 52. It can be argued that casualty of wars are necessary, and that regardless of difficult circumstances and loss, the mission is successful and that is expected and calculated factors of risks of military operations. If there are attainable objectives, strong political motivation, strong media support, and supportive public opinion towards a conflict overseas and not at home, the outcomes do not matter to the overall perception, even if it turns out to be a failure. In conclusion, Operation Urgent Fury proves a successful operation can occur when there is a lack of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance synchronization, especially when it is an expedited operation was for tactical return of American children students studying in Grenada back to the United States of America, intersected with strategic purposes that were also politically motivated to control public opinion and media narrative. The current and exhaustive ISR was not necessary for mission success. Synchronization of ISR is irrelevant in operations when there are acceptable losses, political and media support against an easily defined objective. For more intelligence information operation content, please subscribe, follow, and comment to my channel. This essay was written by Anand Lall and collaborated with video creator Wimu. Thank you for watching. References and links will be posted in the description box.